Welcome down to episode number 84 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia, and the guy on the other screen or in your other ear, if you are listening to the podcast, it's Cam Blake in a very snowy, cold, wet, and woolly Tasmania. Good evening, afternoon, good morning, Cameron.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, Brendan. Yeah, it's been chilly down here. I won't lie.
It
Cold.
has been. You got a cold front, a cold snap.
We got a cold snap, and I don't think I ever have. I took a photo the other day. It was, what are we today? Wednesday, must have been Monday when it came through.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a photo, which is on my Facebook page at the moment. It's of this sunset with a little sort of lake, a little pond in the foreground. And I was standing on this composition for about 20 minutes in knee-high snow, freezing my feet off. And the actual tarn or the puddle in front froze over as I was standing there. And I don't think I've ever seen that before.
No, it's cold.
So it was cold. And we had ice to deal with on the roads. That's always a bit of fun, watching other people not know how to drive in the conditions and take two-wheel drive cars up hills.
It does happen every year, doesn't it? I mean, come on, people. Get your act together, Tasmania.
You know what's stupid down here? Like, you go to Victoria and you go up any mountain, you've got to have chains in the winter. Yeah. Down here, chains are like fourth on the list. So you've got to have a car, you've got to have something to eat,
beer.
You've got to have a two-wheel drive car, and then maybe you might take chains and do that. But it's weird. It's not an emphasis down here.
Which is funny because, whenever you go there into the wilderness areas, particularly anywhere that's elevated, they bang on ad nauseum about being careful with hypothermia and how quickly the weather can change.
Yes.
And,
yeah. But don't worry, if you get stuck in the car, you'll be fine.
You've got some steel and glass around you, you'll be fine.
And you know what? It's not fun to say, but it does happen a bit down here, is the locals just don't care. So, you drive along and you see, you can tell the tourism cars, you got like the hire cars, got a little barcode on the back window.
Yes.
And you just see them go up, and next minute they're into the gutter sliding off, and the locals just go, yep. They've got no interest in helping unless it's really, really emergency. They are quite happy just to wave and keep driving past.
It's kind of like, good luck with that. Bye.
Yeah, it's like, it's not my problem. See you later. So, but yeah, we had a real cold snap here. It's freezing today as well.
Mm-hmm. But it was
quite
quite similar down south in Victoria as well.
And the snowfields have had a bit of a dumping up there.
They did. They copped a bit, which is good.
That's good.
Always needed at this time of year for the people running all the businesses up there, with everyone flocking from Melbourne up to the snow.
That'd be a hard gig running a business up in. If your business relied on snowfall in Australia,
shout out.
It would be a real tough gig, because
it would be.
It's not guaranteed.
It's why you see so many of them diversifying now, and they're doing mountain bike trails and stuff in the shoulder season and summer. So I get it. I'm going to talk about my background, and then we're going to talk about yours.
Are we going to thank all the 564 subs and all that kind of stuff?
You just did.
Thanks everyone for subscribing, and of course, if you haven't subscribed, we'd love to see this push up to 1,000. Let's get it up there by the end of the year. 1,000 subs
1
on
million.
the YouTubes. 1 million. And do we want to touch on quickly on our weather photographic competition that's currently running through the month of June?
Sure. It's like you're running the show. This is good. I like this. I'm going to sit back and just relax and let you do all the driving.
You just skipped the first 3 points.
That's okay. We like to mix it up here on the Down South Photo Show. Yes, our weather photo comp, which is running through the month of June, which means we'll sneak one more episode in, maybe, unless you're anyway, we'll see.
Maybe, but
we'll certainly spook about it.
We've since the last episode, everyone's woken up and gone, oh, okay, I can win $200 from Brendan.
That's right.
And they've just piled on into the competition, and there is.
Now, let me be clear: you don't win $200 from Brendan. You win a $200 gift voucher. Ocean Grove camera and photo.
Is it not transferable?
No, what is it? Not redeemable for cash.
Not redeemable.
See terms and conditions, not valid in South Australia.
So having a look through here, I reckon we've got close to 50 entries now.
You flagged an entry with me the other day, and I'm glad you did. That's an amazing photo.
Yes.
So,
But yeah, we're cracking along. We've got plenty of entries there. But don't fret. You've still got another, as of today, you've got 9 days left. So probably another week by the time this comes out. But we've got everything. We've got weather, we've got rain, we've got dust storms, we've got rainbows, we've got massive seas, we've got
we could do our
auroras, we've
own
got fog.
Down South Photo Show viewers weather calendar.
Yeah. We even got some hoarfrost. I
Beg
love
your pardon?
hoarfrost. Hoarfrost.
Okay.
Hoar frost.
Right.
You know when all the trees just go white and they just freeze?
That's called hoarfrost, is it?
It's called hoarfrost, yeah.
I was
And
today
it's
years old when I found that out.
Yeah, it's a bit of a phenomenon when it happens because the dew points and the conditions and the air temps all have to marry up for it to happen. But we are cranking along with this competition. And you know what? I think this is going to have to be a regular feature. I think we're going to have to run a monthly competition, and you just have to keep giving away money.
And I think I just gave birth to another idea, but we might need to discuss it off air. Anyway.
No, let's do it now.
I just said we could do a weather calendar. We could.
Oh, you want to do a weather calendar?
Well, we could pick the top 12 and have a calendar for people to feature in. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that'd save us.
That's a good idea. Let us know.
Well, the best thing about that is that we don't need to worry about. We've got all the images there. We just sell it. And
That's right. That's what people do these days. They just give away their images for free, right?
Yeah, that's it. No, we won't. We won't be
as we discussed about
around.
10 episodes ago.
Mm.
It's not what we do here.
That's not. Maybe other podcasts, but not this one.
No, definitely other podcasts. I'm going to briefly talk about my background. Should I go full screen?
Do it.
Okay. Well, there now I've disappeared and there. So this is a part. I don't know if I used this as a background before. I might have. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Maybe not. So this is the northern side of the Bellarine Peninsula, Cameron, one that you may or may not be overly familiar with. So this is over at a place called Clifton Springs, which is Drysdale, Clifton Springs, St Leonard's, Indented Head, all these areas over there. Port Arlington, how could I forget? Anyway, this is the remnants of an old jetty that used to run out here. Used to be used for loading of produce and stuff on the Bellarine. And there's about 4 of them, but this one's really easy to access. Like you literally got a car park 50 meters from here. So quite often I'll come to this location. I think I might have even ridden my bike over for this one, but I get over there quite often and you take a number. There's about 4 other photographers there with their tripods taking this exact same photo. So if you do happen to get a good sunset, kind of got there, it's everyone really jockeys for position. It doesn't face sunset though; it faces north. So the sunsets, as you can see off to the left, are out to the west there. So it's a little bit tricky that location to get the photos. So it is a good spot though. And the reason I'm using that as my background is because today a lovely person bought a gigantic canvas of it off me. So
nice. Is that horizon straight? Just want to make sure
Probably
that
not.
horizon's straight.
No. I'm putting them up crooked on purpose now. And every time a certain photographer posts a photo, do you think I'm not going to scrutinize that horizon? See, they've made a rod to their own back here.
Yeah, you know what they did though? They're lazy. That's what they are, because a lot of their images that they post up don't have horizons.
I noticed. I've been waiting for one. And I'm I'm getting the plumb bob out. I'm getting a spirit level on that sucker.
Yeah, you're not going to get it, but I reckon we can get them on other technicalities. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
That person will remain nameless, but they are an award-winning photographer. Which,
like I said, it was low-hanging fruit, but he decided to pick it, and that's fine.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and now you've said it's a he, so that gives it away. They're an award-winning photographer, which, as you know, means that they've entered the competition. So
wow. That's right.
Does
that make me an award-winning photographer as well? Great.
We're all awarding. You want to talk about my background?
Where did you take your background photo, Cam?
I took my background freezing my ass off. I've done a similar shot to this last winter, and this is what I love about weather. Speaking of our competition, that weather does always repeat. So around about the same time of year, you get similar conditions with the seasons. So this is up in the Central Highlands, and there's a really cool section of these beautiful gums. I'm going to call them snow gums. I'm assuming they are. But there's this beautiful dirt road that runs off. Not many people go up there, but it'd be probably 5 kilometers of this kind of scenery. And once you get those big snow dumps, it really is like shooting fish in a barrel for your photography. So this was taken on Monday. This is around about lunchtime, and it was blizzarding. Like we could see it coming in from the left, coming from the west coast, and it looked like storm, like it looked like a massive, big black storm cloud coming through, and it just dumped on us for about 2 hours. I was out there with my mate Jamie. We packed the 4-wheel drive up, went out for the day, and we just got some incredible conditions. Both of us got, I reckon, a dozen photos that are worthy of entering into competitions or the like. But yeah, it's just such a great time of year down here when you get those big icy blasts. You got to be careful, like I said earlier, like with the ice and stuff like that. But if you're prepared and you're sensible, you can really get some beautiful shots.
So do you remember back when we were way more professional and used to have guests on the show? We've had maybe 2 or 3 so far.
Yeah,
and we're probably due for another one. Having said that, but
we could get someone on there. Yeah.
Do you remember? I had a segment that I used to call was it burst mode or rapid fire or something?
Yeah, I think that lasted about 2 episodes.
Can I do a quick rapid fire about you and snow photography?
Yeah, go for it. Let's do it.
This is unscripted, completely off the cuff. Question without notice.
Yeah, good. Make it easy.
All right. Okay. Your go-to lens for shooting snow scenes? Do you have a preferred angle?
Preferred. I do like. It depends. If it's a forest shot, I like sort of like a 50 mil, so you can sort of compress it a bit, like this one behind me.
Yeah.
But if it's an open field shot with mountains, then it's probably about a 21 mil lens.
Cool. And that's so. This is on the Olympus system. So as
playing
along at home.
On any system, really. If I'm looking for a wide angle lens, I try not to go any wider than about 18 mil. But 20, I think 21s I like. And if I could pick 3 lenses to go out on a snow day, I'd take a 21, a 50, and maybe something like a 200 mil.
Very good. And do you have a preferred time of day? So when the snow comes, is it better when the sun's in a particular part of the sky, or it doesn't really matter?
It doesn't really matter for me down here because the sun barely gets out of the northern sky all day long. So,
yes.
But for snow photography, this is where I would encourage people, again, safety being paramount, but I would really encourage people to get out when it's happening. Don't wait for the big storms to pass. Put yourself out where you want to be when the storms are going through, the snowstorms, because this was like lunchtime and it was, it was like just completely whited out. It was fantastic. So light almost becomes irrelevant when you've just got this beautiful big blanket of snow clouds over the top of you blocking out the sun. And any sun that does come through is usually a bit of a bonus or can help out a bit. But what I find with people in their snow photography, maybe not the hardcores, but the people that are trying to get their way into photography and snow photography, is they go out more so after the fact and they get those beautiful blue skies and all the mountains covered in snow. I would suggest trying to make sure you're in it while it's happening, because it might blizzard for 2 or 3 hours, but you'll get some incredible shots in and out of that weather as well. So,
and fun fact, we are recording this on winter solstice.
We are, yes. People have all got their
shortest day of the year, daylight.
All the people have got their gear off down here. They do a winter solstice swim.
Cool.
And about 1,000 people go butt naked in the beach down here.
Did you as well?
Nope.
No, give that a wide berth.
Yep, absolutely. Figuratively and literally.
I haven't finished my burst mode yet.
Okay, so
if you could give people one tip about shooting snow, what would it be?
You know what it's going to be.
That's why I'm asking you.
Shooting snow, you just need to watch your exposure. Yes. Because it's such what we would call a high key scene, because it's so white, the camera gets a little bit confused, and the camera's always trying to find that middle tone to make its metering or its starting point to do the metering for you. If you're pointing the camera at a purely white scene, the camera's going to try and underexpose it a bit or make a bit of a mistake. So on this day, on Monday, I think I had my camera set to 1 stop over exposing, which sounds completely counterproductive to what you want to do. You're overexposing the camera in a really bright scene. But what you're doing is you're just correcting the camera's metering system from offsetting a bit because it's so white. So that'd be my tip, is just watch your exposure, shoot at least even exposure, if not 1 stop over, thereabouts. And what happens is it just helps render your scene a bit more white and pure.
Okay. I don't know if I've ever asked you this. Do you shoot in RAW plus JPEG?
Sometimes.
Okay.
It depends where I am. If I'm doing a workshop, for example, our Murray Mallee workshop, that is it sold out now? No. Yes.
No,
remember.
I think it is. I think it is sold out.
Yeah, it is sold out. Bad luck, folks. For that one, I'll shoot I'll shoot both RAW and JPEG, because if I get back to the hotel room and I want to quickly upload something to social media or send it to someone, I can just pull off a JPEG, do a quick cheeky edit on the phone and send it off.
Yeah.
But I always shoot in RAW, because obviously RAW gives you more control over what you can do afterwards in post-production. But yeah, I shoot mainly RAW, but yeah, RAW and JPEG. The size of memory cards these days, you can do both anyway.
Yeah. So speaking for myself, I shoot RAW plus JPEG more so that when it's just for a file searching kind of thing. So if I want to view the files quickly and spot an image really quickly, I can just I can see the JPEG sitting right next to the RAW file. So when I'm going to edit, I've got them both, and they're both called the same file now. And they just have a different suffix. They just like, what do we have? What are ours called? Olympus ORG.
ORF.
ORF, Olympus RAW files.
Yeah.
Whereas, you can get, Canon CRF and Nikon RAW files and all that sort of stuff. So
Nikon's got a funny file as well.
So with that in mind,
NREF.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we're not Nikon bashing this week. That's not cool. We shouldn't be brandist.
Although I'll tell you what,
unless they give us reason to.
No, I shared something on social media the other day, and I actually applauded Nikon. Did you see that? They had a little promo video going up there that completely shot down AI.
Very good. No, I didn't say that. You'll have to share it with me. You probably did already, but
I probably did. It was very cool. They pretty much was saying that, you can go out and do stuff with AI and make it all happen, but it never beats being there in real life.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Anyway, is that any more burst questions?
Well, just one last thing. It's a bit of an aside. So when you are shooting in JPEG, obviously the image goes through the image processor. Do you worry yourself too much with things like white balance?
No, never.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So you're just an auto white balance kind of guy.
I am an auto white balance kind of guy. And I can tell you now, I process, my little tip to people as well, how I process my shots is with color balance. It's called color temperature, obviously, because it's rated in kelvins and all that kind of stuff. But I actually take that literally, as in what temperature was I feeling when I was out shooting. So if I was shooting this and I was freezing cold, I tend to push my color temperature a little bit to the cooler side, because it's a cooler scene, it's cold. So I that's one way I remember how to adjust my color temperature. Is that if I remember standing out in the snow, or if I'm on a beach and it's really hot, or I'm up at Kakadu or something like that, I'll generally push the color temperature to the temperature I was feeling as a human, not so much as the color and the light. So a lot of my snow stuff is always
in post-production. You're talking
in post-production. Yes, I still shoot. Yeah, still shoot auto, but then adjust it afterwards in accordance to how I was feeling. If I was freezing cold, it'll be a bit bluer, a bit cooler. If I was a bit hot, it'll be the other way around. Yeah,
because the way I teach beginners in particular who don't really need to know too much about RAW files, I do encourage they shoot them, but I don't bang on too much about RAW files, is I do get them to play with the white balance settings in camera before they take the shot, purely so they can see the effect that it has, so that they get their head around, when they do come to editing RAW files down the track, what it actually means and the difference it can actually make to your image. So, and also if you shoot JPEG on the correct color temperature, so correct white balance, so if it's daylight, you shoot in daylight white balance, you've got a good reference point to come back to as well. It's going to be, the JPEG will be more color accurate, but you've still got all that detail in your RAW file to manipulate. So there you go. Didn't know this was going to be a workshop, did you?
No, I didn't. No. My little cautionary note to that is, I see it a lot where you go up to people's cameras on workshops and say, "Oh, hey, you going good?" And the first thing I notice is the color temperature. And I'm like, "Oh, cool. What color temperature are you shooting?" And they're like, "Oh, I had it set for cloudy. Yesterday it was cloudy, and now I've got it." So I find that sometimes it can trip people up a bit with color balance. But it is definitely good to understand. I think it's good for people to understand what color temperature represents and what the numbers and kelvins mean and things like that, and what daylight temperature is and all those kind of things. So it's handy to know. But
I kind of get people looking at light as we're shooting and recognizing the change in light.
Yes.
So much so the other night, so I did my landscapes and seascapes workshop on Saturday, and the light was changing so quick. And it was great because I would literally be mid-sentence explaining something and I'd just stop and go, light just changed. And it was amazing how few people actually noticed it change.
Okay.
And it's literally just the cloud slipping, the sun slipping behind a cloud that changes color temperature. When the sun hits the horizon, that changes color temperature, all that sort of stuff. So
we had the other night when I was out shooting with Jamie in the snow, we waited in this snow bit where the little tarn froze over. And it was a bit like your shot behind you. It had that pink and purple in the sky.
Yeah.
And we were freezing. Like we were bordering on getting too cold. And I said, dude, let's just give us 15 minutes more because we're going to get that afterglow and that purple magenta pops up in the sky. And it did it. And it changed within, it was a 6 or 7 minute bracket of that color coming and then going.
Yeah.
But it made the shot. So, it is train yourself to watch light change, and the more you do it, the more you'll see little subtle changes that we normally do as well.
Yeah, and the reason I make a song and dance about people recognizing that the light has changed, it should also then trigger you to check other things that you might have changed. For example, ISO. Yeah. So exactly what you said about white balance, it's the same thing. People will go out and shoot astro, and then the next morning they're trying to shoot the sunrise at 26,000 ISO. And it's like, why are these photos looking so crap?
Why am I getting 8,000th of a second shutter speed?
Yeah, that's crazy. And the sun's not even up yet. My camera's amazing.
No, that's there's some good tips in there, like especially, and I think it comes back to the whole idea of understanding your camera and settings. Like we can all read in YouTube and stuff like that, but nothing beats getting out there and just constantly going through the motions with your camera. So many people, on the workshops we did the other week, people go, oh, I haven't had my camera out since the last one. Like that's 6 months ago. Like, okay, I need to get out more. Well, if you want to get better at this, you need to practice. And I always encourage people to take their camera out in the car with them wherever they're going. If you see something on the side of the road, pull over, take a shot. Just get used to going through the motions, and then the more you do it, the better you get.
Yeah, I tell people, like on cold winter's nights when you might be watching, I don't know, the Ashes, you could sit there and have your camera and just literally, this is how I change ISO, this is how I change white balance, this is my aperture, this is my shutter, blah, blah, blah. And just, and the analogy I always use is, when I play more golf, I get better at it. Funny about that. So, it's the old, what is it, the 1,000 hours?
Yeah, it takes 1,000 hours to become proficient at something or whatever it is. But like we're sort of lucky.
Why am I still so shit at golf then?
I know. Well, we're both shit at golf. That's the one thing that we have an advantage over people is that we do this as a living, and we get out a fair bit. Like I get to the point where I think I'm shooting too much. I actually get out and everything just becomes too repetitive and. I've been to this spot before, and
I could see that happening. Yeah, I could see that happening. I mean, conversely to when you at a scene and you at a location and you have photographers block, you can also have the converse, which is overdoing it.
Yeah, I in the last month, I reckon I've had a bit of that. Like we've done workshop after workshop after workshop, and any sort of downtime of wanting to go and enjoy my photography. I've got out there and I've done it a couple of times. I've driven for an hour and a half somewhere and come home. I haven't taken a photo. I'm like, just it's a nice drive. So you can overdo it as well. So
it's funny though, isn't it? Because you get out to, like, you might take a 2-hour drive and then you feel like compelled. I know I'm not coming all this way without getting a shot. So
that's right. It's tricky.
Okay, so we've basically talked for 25 minutes about nothing that was on the run sheet, but that's okay.
That's okay. We've got some topics. Didn't you want to talk about?
I do.
I do. You're selling something quite unique, aren't you?
Yeah. So I took a shot. It was actually during my landscape and seascape workshop on Saturday. Something that I don't normally do, and it was really different. But I was really happy with how it came out. We just had 10 minutes while we were waiting for a bit of light to change, mucking around a bit. and then it's sort of the phrase fine art photography came to me, and I'm like, okay, what the hell does that mean? But the scene I was looking at just screamed fine art photography. Some people might call it still life. Anyway, it's a shot of. Will I put up on the screen? I'll put up on the screen.
Here it is right now.
There it is there. And it was, it was just really cool light hitting the side of some grasses. It's winter, so the light's really low. It was really high contrast. So I used spot metering just to read the light off the blades of grass, which of course just turned the background right down. So it really made the grass pop away from the background, which is a shot I love doing that kind of photography. Anyway, I got the frame, looked at it on the screen. It's like, that's pretty cool. And then just sort of logged it. I'm going to have to look at that photo later on. Anywho, fast forward to this week, and I'm going through those photos. I put up on the screen, and it's actually really sharp, and it's kind of cool. And I thought, right, I'm going to sell this, but I'm only going to sell it once. So, and that's where I wanted to leverage off that fine art photography thing. You know, photography by its very nature is we can reproduce prints literally in infinite number of times, as many times as you like. And we've talked about it before on the show, that how that can sometimes devalue the work insofar as it's not limited edition. And of course, a painter only paints a piece once, that they can't sit there and paint it again exactly the same, whereas we can reprint it exactly the same. And the big difference there is I can limit how many are sold. So in the case of this piece of fine art photography, for want of a better phrase, I'm selling it once. And I'm putting a hefty price tag on it. And it's not so much, you know, testing the market or anything. I'm just, I suppose it is. I'm curious. I've never tried this before. I've had a little bit of feedback about it already. Nothing negative. A lot of, you know, which I was a bit afraid of, that it'd be like, oh, come on, mate, who do you think you are? You know,
one person comes to mind, but yeah.
Well, that's right. Exactly. And full disclosure, I'm selling this piece for $6,000. It's a big piece. It's framed in Victorian ash. It's going to look incredible on anyone's wall. But it's
going to be 106 centimeters by 155 centimeters.
So it's a vertical print. So it's 1.5 meters tall by over 1 meter wide. It's big. It's on canvas, and as I say, it's going to be framed in the Victorian ash frame.
A quick little summary for people that aren't watching. So the guys that are listening on the ever growing podcast. So this is a shot of some sort of grass by the ocean, or seagrass, or whatever you want to call it, or coastal grass. And it's got some beautiful afternoon light on it. It's got some really lovely shadowing behind it and stuff like that. So it's a lovely shot, and it looks beautiful, and it is fine art, and it looks great framed up how you've got it there in the promo as well. Thank you. So yeah, this is a really interesting one, because this limited edition one-off, you know, fine art stuff, it's come and gone, and it goes up and down, and people do it and people don't do it. You never really hear how successful people go with it. So it'd be interesting to see if you do get takers on this. But my question to you is, if I'm a buyer, so I see this and I'm like, whoa, $6,000, Brendan, that's a lot of money for a fairly large print that's framed. What do I get out of buying this one-off print from you? Like, what's the payoff for me in regards to buying that?
Exclusivity is obviously the big driver, is that that is the only one. It will come with a certificate of authenticity, all that sort of stuff. And the driver behind that was, I have actually had a couple of people come into my shop and I won't say complain, but they see a canvas that's on the wall and they'll say, oh, I bought that. And they kind of have, a couple of people have had a bit of a jibe, and it's kind of lighthearted. It's like, oh, gee, I would have thought for what I paid for it to be the only one. And it's like, okay, you paid $500 for it, move on, whatever. But it does sort of resonate with me insofar as I think it's pretty cool to know that it's a unique piece. And I think that is the main driver for the buyer of the artwork. And there's going to be a trust factor there, because they're just going to have to trust me that I am literally going to destroy that file. I will delete it in front of them if they want me to. It's going to be it's in one spot on a hard drive. I know exactly where it is. I've even deleted off the memory card already. And the only reason I've got it still is I haven't printed it yet. So
yeah, so that's the tricky one, isn't it? Like the limited edition, like and it's interesting that you've done this, because I did a similar thing a few years ago where I just did a handful of photos, one-offs, and put them up there for a similar sort of price, and just didn't get a single bite, didn't even get any feedback, didn't get anything.
Yeah.
But the comments that I got afterwards were like, well, yeah, but it's a one-off, but you've still got the file and it's sitting on your computer. I'm like, well, I could have deleted the file, I could have done this, I could have done that. But the other one that people did feedback was, well, but why would what's the benefit of me buying a Brendan Waite's piece of art? Like, is it going to go up in value? Is it an investment, or is it just a purchase on something they like the look of? Like, it's a tricky one. So if someone comes into the store and they're sort of etching to buy it, what's the sales pitch that you give them? You've obviously said the exclusivity, that word, bloody exclusivity, that they're going to get a one-off. But are you selling it as an investment for that person that's going to go up?
These are the questions that need to be answered, and part of the reason I'm doing this very exercise I would like to think that it is an investment, but particularly given that we're printing it on archival quality canvas. It's going to and the certificate of authenticity will explain that as well, that it's going to last. It'll outlast us 5 times over. And that's not to say that I think I'm worth it, or that I think that people should be investing in my photography. That's not the case at all. I don't have an ego like that. It was more, I think I mentioned it to you at the time as well. It's okay, I can sell this one piece for $500 and sell it 10 times over 5 years. Or I can try and leverage the dollar value of it by selling it once. And get that money that I would get over 5 years, get it in one hit. So there's a financial side to it, no question. I mean, obviously there's a financial side to it. How did I come up with the price? I have no idea. I actually had a figure in mind and laughed at myself, so I came back a bit from that. This is, mate, it's purely an exercise in testing the waters. It's scratching a bit of an itch, I think.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. And like I said, you see a lot of limited edition prints going everywhere, and like Ken Duncan limited edition prints and Steve Parrish, and there's all these limited editions. But I'm with you in a way. I think the one of one works.
I think that's the only true limited edition in photography, can be one of one.
Yeah, that's right. And it relates back to what you're saying about the painting. They only paint the original once, and then they obviously reproduce it as a print or whatever. But the original image is always, or the original painting is always worth the most. So I was of the same. I when I tried it a few years ago, it was going to be one of 5 or something like that. But I think the one of one works better. And it'd be interesting to see. If anyone.
I honestly don't think it'll sell. And that's fine too. But as I say, I just need to find out if this sort of thing has a place. And there are photographers that are selling pieces as big as that for way more than $6,000. So, and not limited to one of one.
Will you put it in the shop, or will you only print it once it's sold?
I think I'm tempted to put it in the shop. I don't know whether I will.
Because I can picture it being like, I know the front of your shop. I can picture it being like a center masterpiece with nothing else around it. And that's it. I think having it in the flesh might push you in the right direction.
The only issue I would have is that would then become one piece of artwork in my shop that is 10 times the price of anything else that I've got in there. And then you run the risk of, a person comes in, I've got, I'm busy. They say, how much is this? I say $6,000. They laugh in my face and walk out. And that that I'm prepared to wear that. I mean, when it's on a website, there's that anonymity. They're laughing, but not in my face, so that's fine.
Do you
know what I'm saying there? Like, I don't want people to. I don't want to come across as some wanker that thinks he can. All my pieces aren't $6,000. It's just this one is. That one over there is, $600, but that's going to be the 95th time that I've sold it. So
what about if someone comes in and says, I want that print, but half the size and I'll give you 3,000?
They can't have it. I've got to stick to my guns. I've
Yeah,
got to stick to my guns because
that's,
and to be honest, Cam, that's why I chose an image like this. I like it. I'm really proud of it. I think it's a cool shot. But it's something completely different to what I do. I've never have I ever done this sort of thing, printed it, framed it, anything like that. So look, it'll be interesting, and I will keep Down South Photo Show listeners and watchers posted on what happens with it. Look, I'm going to leave it on my website for 12 months. Okay. That's how long I think it would be a good time to test the waters on it. I think that's how long it needs. And see if I can stir up a bit of interest and just get the conversation going. It'll be fascinating. I suppose that's the other small driver is I don't think good landscape photographers get paid enough for their work, mate. I really don't, and particularly their prints. So if this can in some way, drive pricing a little bit more in those photographers' favor, then hey, I'm all for that too.
It's
because we're battling with the IKEAs of the world, and we're battling with the Harvey Normans of the world. You've been to a Harvey Norman furniture store?
I try not to.
I know, but like you go in there and they've got these mass-produced prints. I guarantee you the photographer's getting jack squat out of it.
Yeah, that's right. They get nothing out of it. No. But this is I've had this conversation with mates as well. Like we're our own worst enemy, photographers. Like we class ourselves as artists, and we're a specialized artist. We're not, we're not a painter. We're not a musician. We're not a sculptor, or whatever we are. We're a photographer. So why the hell can't we sell our art at $6,000, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 a pop?
Yeah.
Why? Just because everyone takes photos doesn't mean everyone's an artist in regards to photography. So, but we kick ourselves in the backside a bit because everyone just sells stuff for cheap, and we don't seem to have an identity anymore as artists. We're just photographers. And all we do is just take photos of things we see and things we do.
Yeah, because you're right. And there's the image that's portrayed is that it's easy. Anyone can take a photo. I'm telling you right now, not anyone could have taken that grasses photo that I've got. Not anyone can take that photo in your background. That's right. There's a lot of experience that comes into that composition that I can see over your shoulder there. And you're right. Why is it sold so short all the time?
Yeah, that's it. And like maybe we need to stick up for ourselves. It's the same old. Like I put up a post tonight about housing pricing around Australia and how it's killing everyone at the moment.
Yeah,
housing prices can go through the roof and people still buy houses. So why can't photography, prints, and artwork go up in value and people still buy them? The reason being is because the market is set so low because people just put stuff up and sell. A huge canvas for $100 and away we go.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Good luck with it. I keep us updated because I'm interested to see. You know what? I reckon you might sell it.
Okay. I'm honest, like what I said before. I reckon in the next 12 months, there's a 10% chance that I'll sell it.
I reckon it's a bit more than that. And the reason why I think it's a bit more than that, and this is not stereotyping anyone, but the region that you live in. There's some nice houses down there. There's a bit of money down there where people live. I can just picture someone coming in to get a passport photo for their world tour, your first class ticket around the world, and they see that and go, "That'll look great in my 5th bathroom."
Yeah.
And they might just buy it. So that's where I reckon it might go. But it'd be interesting. Keep us updated with it. And definitely, of course, if you do sell it, the proceeds will go straight to the Buy Us a Beer Foundation.
To the beer fund. Should we mention the beer fund? The beer fund this week. Yeah. Did we have a donation? We did. Brett W. Thank you, Brett W, for donating beer to us this week. If you would like to buy us a beer, head to dsps.com.au. That's dsps.com.au and look for the Buy Us a Beer button. You can buy us a beer, 2 beers, 5 beers, or a slab.
Or a slab.
A slab,
thank you, Brett.
For those listening north of the Murray River, it's a box of beer, basically.
We forgot to mention that we're actually rating in the British charts of podcasts.
Isn't that hilarious?
It is hilarious. We're we're probably almost doing as well in the British charts as we are in the Australian charts.
That's
so
fantastic. Hello to all our British listeners.
Yeah, and we do apologise about the first test at Headingley.
Yeah, we don't. It was one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've got a team full of number 11, so you deal with it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Baz balls up.
If you do listen and you're in the Great Britain or that sort of Northern Hemisphere region, please give us a shout out or send us a message or say g'day. We'd love to hear you from. But yeah, that was a real buzz for me. We're like, we're like you said, we're like the Beatles. We've broken into the Brits.
That's right. We've broken into another market. Wherever you are, we'd like to hear from you. You could be, anywhere. Anywhere outside of Australia. We love our Australian listening audience, of course, but we're always fascinated to know where people are listening to us from. And people see, it's great because people see us go through our seasons. And if you look back through the last 2 years of thumbnails, you can sort of see the backgrounds change with the seasons. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they do.
Actually. Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, if you are listening, just shout out, send us a message on DSPS. What is it? DSPS.com.au.
That's right.
Send us a message. Tell us where you're coming in from. Tell us what your weather's like. They can enter the competition if you've got some weather shots. I think we've got some international shots in there as well. So
they can buy my limited edition print and I'll ship it to them.
for the same price as what it's worth.
Yeah, I'll have to get on a plane myself and carry it. It'll probably be cheaper than shipping the thing there.
Comes with free delivery if you just fly Brendan over there.
That's right, exactly. I'll hang it in your house. It sounds like a good idea to me. Do we touch on the second one, or we might hang that over for next week's scenes?
We might do it next week. I reckon I think it's a good one though.
It is a good one. So stay tuned for next week.
Next week.
If we've got you available next week, we don't know yet. We'll work that out.
I'll be in the Flinders Ranges from Monday next week, but we did one from the Flinders last year.
We did, so there's no reason why we can't do it again.
No, I'll have cousin Dan, 5-star Dan, who's helping me out. He'll be in the background, probably drinking a beer or.
Can I call him 5-star when I see him? I like that.
Yeah,
5-star.
Absolutely.
That's a great nickname.
5-star. Just a side note with Daniel. He's like obviously my cousin. I love him to death. We're best mates. But I rang him yesterday or the day before, and he didn't answer. And I said, "Why don't you answer? When the boss calls, you answer." Kind of thing. He goes, "Oh, I've just got to go to the hospital." I'm like, "What? We're 3 days out or 4 days out from a tour. What have you done?" He goes, "Oh, I got my fingers smashed in a log splitter."
Oh.
I'm like, good, Daniel. That's really good. He goes, "That's okay." They think, he goes, "I can see the tendons, but it should be okay." And so he's gone to the hospital. Apparently it's all okay. Damn. His tendons are fine. A couple of years ago, he put a grinding blade through his shin. That was good.
Right.
So he needs to stop. He does like home maintenance and gas bottle stuff up at King Lake in Victoria there. He needs to stop doing that and just come on tours with me. He's safer with me than he is doing his own job.
He's Dan the Tool Man.
Dan the Tool Man, Dan 5-star Dan. But he's just...
Well, if he is incapacitated, surely he could run a retail store while I go to the Flinders Ranges. Okay, deal. That sounds good to me.
Hang on, do you have chemicals in your store?
No, not anymore.
No. He'll be fine then. He'll be fine.
Good. Perfect. Everybody's favourite segment is back for another episode, for episode 84. It's Dear Cam.
Yes, it is back.
It is. Dear Cam. It's funny because it says, my question. My question, ... Okay. I purchased a polarizing filter for my Sony RX10. Is that the one that doesn't have the removable lens? It's like a bridging camera, isn't it? The RX10?
I'm looking it up now.
I'm almost certain it's like a big zoom compact camera. Let's see.
Yeah, you're right. It's got a 5 million times zoom.
I know my cameras.
All right. How much are they worth?
What are they worth, or what are you prepared to buy one for?
What do they retail for?
They ain't cheap. I'm going to say $19.99.
You looked it up, didn't you? $17.85.
I know my cameras, mate.
They have a 25 times optical zoom lens
built in. So they're a cool camera. I purchased a polarizing filter for my Sony RX10 Hoya brand. However, whenever I try to use it, while the camera will focus on screen, autofocus locks on. The photos are always out of focus when I download them. Is it a case that I should buy the specific brand of filter for the camera? Oh, you're saying like buy a Sony filter for a Sony camera.
No,
it's not called Dear Brendan, is it? Dear Cam, go for it.
Yeah, no. And who's that from?
Andy Connor. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Where's Andy from? Anyone?
Oh, for God's sakes.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We'll
Do you know
find
how
that out
many
later.
things I do at once on this bloody show?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we know. It doesn't matter where Andy's from. Let's answer this question.
Andy or Randy? Did you call him Randy?
This has gone off the rails.
Andy. Randy Connor.
Just
sounds like wasn't that a wrestling star? Randy
before
Connors?
we drive this whole thing right into the ground, can we bring this back onto the
Yeah, right.
DCAM?
Okay. Sorry, Andy. He's never going to ask a question ever again.
No.
It doesn't sound like it's a filter problem to me. Like the Hoyas are a good brand of filter. They're the filters I use. But it says, while his camera will focus on screen, autofocus locks on. The photos are always out of focus when I download them. I'm thinking there might be a bit of an issue with the autofocus of the camera, or I was going to say maybe the diopter was different in the camera, that it's making it look like it's in focus, but it's not. But if the autofocus says it's locking on, I would suggest it's probably a camera issue, because the filter shouldn't adjust the focus. If it was going to be out of focus, it'd be out of focus.
I reckon I know.
What do you think?
I reckon I know the answer.
Okay, you might know more because you obviously know the camera, but
no. I personally,
or
Andy,
slow shutter speed.
Yeah. So I think what's happening here is that Andy is putting a polarizing filter on in already low light conditions and not compensating for that. Now, what I mean by that is fitting the polarizer is going to cost you sometimes 2 stops of light, which means you might be getting a shutter speed below 1/60th of a second, which, as anyone who's done one of my workshops knows, that is alarm bells. If it goes below 1/60th of a second, it's almost impossible to hand hold a camera steady enough. So I'm going to guess, Andy, what you're doing is you're looking at the photo on a big screen, so you're enlarging it up. On your small screen, on your camera, it probably looks okay. But when you go and put it onto a PC or a laptop, a bigger screen, it looks out of focus. But what you're actually looking at there may be camera shake. It might be blur.
Yeah.
You might need to invest in a tripod, my friend.
The other thing as well, I think you might have hit the nail there, because if it's a 25 times optical zoom in a compact sort of, not a compact camera, but an all-in-one camera, it won't have the fastest lens. It won't be like a really wide aperture. So I would suggest that when he's focusing, that it'll lock on focus and look sharp on the screen. And when he presses a button, like you said, it probably looks pretty good. But when he brings it back on his home computer, so yeah, maybe it is a bit of camera shake. If it's not checked, so when you're editing on things, you could easily just check what the shutter speed is in your exit data or whatever it is. If you're getting, like Brendan said, a 60th of a second or slower, then most likely it's camera shake. And then don't worry about getting your camera fixed, just get a tripod. But if it's like a 1,000th of a second and it's still blurry, then you might need to go get that checked out.
Then there's an issue. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Cool. Tripods, by the way, don't instantly solve camera shake. Tripods plus self-timers or remote shutter releases do. So just bear that in mind, because you need, even when you push the trigger to take the photo, you need time for your camera to stabilize, particularly at the bigger zooms. One thing about the RX10, and again, this is without Googling, but I believe at the widest angle, it's f2.8. No, it's not. So maybe that was the RX100.
No, it's 2.4.
2.4, it's even better. There you go.
Yeah, so it has a Zeiss Vario Zona, whatever that is, a 24 to 600 mil, 2.4 to f4. So it's f4 at 600 mil.
That's impressive.
That's bloody impressive.
That's why it's $2,000, but it's they're good. I had one in my shop. I don't think it was an RX10. It might have been the RX. Anyway, it was similar. They're really cool. I like them. I think they're actually underrated. There's a couple of downsides. They've got APS-C size sensors and all that sort of stuff, but they've got bloody good lenses, good glass on them. Yeah.
They don't have any. I'm just checking if they've got any image stabilizer or anything like that.
They would have to have.
They would have to. Wide angle density.
You would think so, being Sony.
Streamlined focusing.
It's a Sony.
Doesn't seem to.
Oh, okay.
Say.
Maybe not.
Maybe it doesn't.
Hey, anyway, 2.4. You need it.
Yeah, those two things, Andy, I would be checking out just to see. So check the shutter speed of your files. If they're really quite low, then that could be an issue. If they're quite high, then the issue is probably more to do with the camera. But I would say we're on the right track with the shutter speed.
And last but not least, Andy, just keep a look at your ISO as well. You might be looking at grain and thinking that it's actually blur. So there's that too. So lower ISO as well. So there's a few factors going on there, but as we said, if you check all those things in your EXIF data and it still looks like it should, then there might be an issue with the camera. If you have a DearCam question for us, please send it in to us via dsps.com.au or via our Facebook page. just entitle your post Dear Cam and we'll do the rest, or send us a DM? Get down in our DMs. Yeah.
Hey, there was a bit more to Andy's email. It is a polarizing filter.
Yep.
Which is a focus problem question. He said, I love the podcast, so relatable on so many levels. Perhaps as too, I am middle-aged, and dare I say, a tad cranky too.
Yeah, nice one, Andy. We're feeling you.
I only found your podcast a few weeks back, about halfway through catching up. So there you go. Good stuff.
Nice one. Welcome aboard, Andy. Good to have you on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we love it. So more questions, the merrier for us, would be awesome.
Yeah.
We did the beer donation. So Cam, now you're off to the Flinders Ranges.
Yes.
Now, is this the same? Dan? Yeah, that's right. In the 5-star Dan. Is this the same, basically the same trip that you did October last year?
Yeah, so I do two of these a year. So we do one in June and we do one in September. Yep. So cool. So this is the September. This is the June, July one. Yep. And then we go again in September. So yeah, awesome. So yeah, I'll be up your way on Saturday morning, as we're discussing.
Yes.
And then I've got to go pick up. Do
you have places
Daniel.
Left for your September one?
Good question. I think we don't.
We might as well plug it while we're at it.
Yeah, let me have a look. I don't think we do. I think it's sold out. But look, if there is a spot there, I'll let you know. No, we're sold out.
Okay. Are there any other of your workshops you would like to plug while you have the floor?
We've got the one we're doing next year, the Tarkon to Cradle Mountain one, which is April next year. That has one spot left.
Wow.
So that's I don't remember the dates off the top of my head. It was April. I think it's April. I'm going to say 12th to 18th or something like that.
Sounds familiar. So, yes.
Yeah, it's sort of mid-April, right in the middle of the Vegas time. So we're going to do 3 days at Tarkon, 3 days at the Cradle Mountain region. That's got one spot left. I do have a Cradle Mountain winter one, speaking of winter, which is coming up in early August, that I haven't had any takers on. I've had a couple of inquiries, but no takers on that. So that one is from the 4th of August.
That sounds pretty awesome. And it looks like it's going to be a cold winter. So you're probably going to get some pretty good winter wonderland shots. 4th
of August to the 8th of August. I'm happy to go with just a couple of people because it's such a magical time to go up there. But yeah, so that's all good. What else have I got? I've got a Bruny Island workshop, a 3-day Bruny Island workshop in August as well.
Oh,
but everything else is selling pretty well. Like they're all going. If anyone's listening from Perth, here's a shout out to our Perth WA.
Here we go.
Here we go. I have 2 Olympus OM Days scheduled for the 9th and 10th of September in Perth. We're going to do like a big CBD walk around the river and the Swan River and all that kind of stuff. But I need people to book the places because it's a long way to go. It's a long way to go. So on the 9th of September, I've got 4 places left. On the 10th of September, I've got 6 places left. I'm going to give it till the end of June to make a decision on whether or not we go ahead with these. But if you're in Perth, you don't have to use Olympus. It's going to be a day out, just taking shots around the city. We'll teach as much as we can in the day, have a lot of fun, have a few laughs. But if you do want to try any of the Olympus OM gear, I'll have a heap with me. You can try it out if you're in the market for a change or an upgrade. But yeah, I need to get a few more numbers for those 2, September 9 and 10. They're both single day ones, so 2 days. But they've got to make it worth my while to get over there. Otherwise, I'll be donating money to Jetstar and everyone else.
That's right.
Which I don't want to do.
Cam's workshops are linked in the description below, just by the way, the website for his workshops. The Down South Photo Show workshops can be found on dsps.com.au.
I'll give one more little plug because last night, Tom Putt and I had a talk on our Franklin River. So him and I go down the Franklin River once a year. He pretty much just jumped on my tour and stole it, but fair play. So we're going down on November 10th. It's 8 days rafting down the Franklin River. It's an incredible trip. It's not for everyone. You've got to have a little bit of general fitness. If you've got a bad back, neck, ankles, knees, then you're probably out. But you go down this incredible river, you see an amazing scenes, get some photos that not many other people get. We did a presentation last night, about a 45-minute presentation. We might even chuck a link in the show notes for that as well. People want to have a look at that. We've got 3 places left on that, and that leaves in November. So that's more plugging than I've done all year, I reckon.
That's good. That's fun. I'm sure that there's some listeners out there whose ears would have pricked up on a couple of those. So, right, you're off to Flinders Ranges next week, so we'll talk to you from there next week. I am in a week and a bit's time heading up to the Mallee. I'm very excited about this.
I'm hopefully going to see you there.
There is a very good chance that we will cross paths while I'm there, which is great. And the reason I'm excited is A, I get to go and take photos, great. B, I get to scout locations for the Mallee Murray workshop. I already pretty much know where these locations are, but I just want to go there beforehand just to, refamiliarize myself with the different locations that we're going to be heading to. So I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can swing by on the way back and catch up for a night or two and have a beer. Oh, you'll be able to meet 4-Star Dan or whatever.
I have met him before, but it was a long time ago. And if we don't have a beer in the Sea Lake Hotel, I'll be very disappointed.
Well, maybe we can meet there.
That sounds like a plan. I think that's all we've got for the podcast tonight, unless you have anything more to add.
No, I think that's good. Like I said, make sure you get entries in for the June weather competition.
There's a lot going on, isn't there?
There's a hell of a lot going on. This show's got bigger than we ever thought it was. Make sure you go check out Brendan's $6,000 one-off print, one only.
5,995.
That sounds better, doesn't it, than 6,000?
It does.
And make sure you get your Dear Cam questions in. Beer donations are always welcome. I'll see you in the Flinders next week. I'm almost running this show now, and I'm becoming the host.
That's it. I'm redundant.
Never. We can't. You've got the intro down, Pat. I can never.
I could say it in my sleep. Thanks for listening and watching episode number 84 of the Down South Photo Show. We will see you for episode 85, which kind of sounds like a milestone, but it probably isn't.
15 to go.
True. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Cheerio. Bye.
Bye.